when you first hear that story, you think, "Oh, I'm just being a pedant," right? And it's just a semantic argument.
Yeah, but
like
you are a pedant.
I am a pedant, but I wasn't
admit
just.
you're a pedant?
I wasn't just being a pedant.
Do you admit you're a
yeah,
pedant?
of course, absolutely. I'm quite proud of
Right.
it. But
Do you
actually,
accept that it's a failing?
No,
Personality
definitely not.
failing?
No,
You
it's
should,
a strength.
Steve.
Thanks, Nick. I like the way this is just a forum
Do
for
you have
to
any
insult
person?
me.
Do you have any personality failings?
I have many,
You
but
could,
pedantry is
I
not
could
one
name
of
a
them.
couple and you could argue against them. I'm sure you could find some bloody way of doing it.
Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Come on, Steve!
Bunsen,
Burner!
Dolly,
Machine!
internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Steam!
Petri,
Dishes!
Oscar,
Base!
Isaac,
Newton!
transplanting?
Hello, Steve. How you doing,
Nick,
man?
how you doing?
Yeah, good. It's good to be back. It's another podcast.
We're back in the Science Shed.
Oh, we're here again. I know.
It's very exciting, isn't it?
It is. It's really good to be back, and we've got loads of interesting things to have a chat about today.
That's
haven't
good.
we?
Yeah. So for anyone that hasn't listened to the Science Shed before, why don't you introduce who you are, and I'll introduce who I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm Nick, aren't I, Steve?
That's
yeah.
right.
You should know that by now. So I'm a scientist. I'm a member of the academic staff of Southampton University, or I should say the University of Southampton, because the university is very.
That's what it's called. That's
yeah,
why you should say it.
I know, but why does it matter whether you put university at the start or at the end?
It's a different name, isn't it?
Not really. Southampton University, University of Southampton. Who's going to give a shit?
The marketing people at the University of Southampton do.
Okay,
It probably
sorry,
costs
Mark.
like 50 grand for someone to move the position of university.
What a waste of time.
Indeed.
Anyway, so I'm a scientist. So I've got a small group, and we do a bit of work on regenerative medicine. We're trying to restore organs and tissues back to their health by using a variety of different kinds of scientific techniques like nanotechnology.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's fun. What do you do, Steve?
So my name's Stephen Lee. I'm a physical chemist at the University of Cambridge. And my lab works on the kind of border between physics, biology, and chemistry. And so we're kind of building new tools to address biological problems. So that's what we do in my lab.
Unexplored hinterland.
Exactly, yeah. We kind
The
of...
interfacial regions between the scientific disciplines.
That's right. Well, it's where all the interesting stuff is, I think.
It's kind of like a lawless border country.
Exactly.
Between the main population.
No man's land. Scientific no man's land.
Exactly. It's kind of
We're all
like
playing football all the time.
scattered sort of, I don't know, old broken down houses.
Exactly. Kind of very post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, a few scraggly feral sheep that used to be domesticated.
Exactly.
That are now just wandering around.
Oh, so you know John? Oh, okay, interesting.
What's annoying Nick?
Nick,
Steve!
thanks. We're going to do our first mashup.
What?
I'm going to combine... I've come across this paper with What's Annoying Nick.
Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, go on. Then.
So I don't know whether this is going to annoy you, but I think it probably will annoy you. So I came across this paper, Nick.
Oh,
It's in the Journal of Organic Chemistry.
it sounds exciting already.
Jock.
Jock.
Jock. The Journal of
It's a
Organic
jock mag.
It's a jock mag, exactly. But not the kind of jock, the kind of like Scooter has come back from playing ball kind of jock.
Is there any magazine that has an acronym JAZZ?
There's Anal Chem.
Oh my god. Oh crikey. There's PNAS.
PNAS, yeah.
PNAS.
PNAS, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I've come across this paper, Nick.
Oh.
It's in the Journal of Organic Chemistry, JOC.
Beautiful journal.
It's called The Synthesis of Anamorphic Molecules, the Nanoputations.
What?
Yeah.
The Nanoputations?
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds like a kind of race in Star Trek.
Well, exactly. Well, I'll show you in a second. So essentially, it's a bunch of organic chemists, a guy called James Torr, who works at the Rice University. And I'll read you the abstract.
Rice University?
Yeah.
The University of Rice.
It's in Texas. It's where
right.
Rick Smalley worked, who co-discovered C60 with Harry Crote. We
Rick
spoke about
Smalley.
that.
Yeah,
we
good
spoke
mate of
about
mine.
that. Yeah.
We hang.
you and Smallsy.
You and Smallsy Ricey.
Yeah. So anyway, James Torr, I'm going to read you the abstract of the paper. He said, described here are the synthetic details en route to an array of 2 nanometer tall anthropomorphic molecules in monomeric, dimeric, and polymeric forms.
So he's made little people out of...
He's made little people! Isn't it good?
What a dick.
So these anthropomorphic figures are called, as a class, nanoputians. Using tools of chemical synthesis, the ultimate in designed miniaturization can be attained while preparing the most widely recognized structures, those that resemble humans.
Oh my god!
So anyway, I'm going to show you some pictures, and we'll put this picture up on Twitter. So I'm just showing Nick now a picture of the animal.
That is ridiculous.
So what we're looking at here is so for anyone that's seen chemical structures before, they kind of look. You probably imagine benzene or these kind of like, these stick drawings of hexagons.
But what this is, stick man made out of aromatic rings and double bonds and legs and things.
Right.
What are all those things underneath it? Those different heads?
I'm about to tell you. This is the best bit. So figure 1. This starts off as this is called the Nano Kid. Right, this one on the top, right?
Is that why he's doing like he looks like he's doing a kind of move from Saturday Night Live. Yeah, Saturday Night Fever, sorry.
Yeah, so what they've done is they've chemically synthesized these compounds that kind of are made to look like stickmen. And so we've used kind of chemical structures. So for instance, an alkyne, which is a triple bond, makes a linear molecule. So they've actually used those for the elbows and the knees of the nanoputian.
Because he's got straight elbows.
Because he's got straight knees. And they've used benzene rings, which is a hexagonal molecule, for its kind of torso.
So what's the head? It's a
heterocycle. It's an oxygen-containing heterocycle.
It's like got 5 points with 2 oxygens occupying 2 of the points.
Yeah. So normally a 5-membered ring with an oxygen is called a furan, but I'm not sure with 2 oxygens. If anyone was a better organic chemist, I could
Fure-2-am?
No. But anyway, so what they've done is they've got this little head, right? But what they've done is they've done some more chemical modifications. So they kept the body the same, they kept the arms the same, and the feet, but they've changed the modifications on the head. And
show me the head, Steve. Well, you only show me. I only got a glimpse.
I know.
Before.
So I'm now going to give.
I want to see the head now.
I'm going to give you all of the heads. There's multiple ones.
Oh
I'm passing the paper over.
Have I got to guess what they are?
No, it says underneath them.
Well, I'm going to cover it up for me, and then I can guess what they are.
Right. Okay. So basically, there's these different heads here. We've got a bit of paper.
Give me.
Okay. Okay.
So hang on a minute. So
this doesn't make very good podcasting, does it?
No, it will do when they look at it later.
Okay.
So the first one, it's kind of there's a line coming out. There's 2 O's which look like kind of oxygens, and then the top of the head is kind of flopped round with 2 lines, making it look like an elf's hat.
Yeah, it does look a bit like
it looks like an elf man.
To be honest, this one is the one I don't get, but the others make more sense.
The next one is a man which clearly he has some kind of top hat on. It's quite clear.
So these are all kind of chemical structures and then they've kind of modified them to make
it's like
them
a
look
square, like a carbon square on his head.
Mm.
The next one I've got no bloody idea. Maybe a ponytail. It's just like the same as one as before, the initial one with the line coming out the top. And the other one is like a hexagon on the head. Oh, right. Oh, my God. So I've just uncovered the names. The dude who looks like the elf is called a nano athlete. Why? I have no idea. Nano Pilgrim.
That's the guy with the top hat.
Obviously an American dude who's done these.
I told it's from Rice.
Nano Green Beret. It's very American, isn't it?
Mm.
Where's Nano Coldstream Guard? You see there?
Yeah.
God, we need a British group to do this.
We do.
Nano Green Beret.
So this paper is very famous in undergraduate or organic chemistry to show that people. So it's actually quite.
How do you do a nano scholar? So the nano scholar is kind of like he's got
a mortarboard on his head.
He's got it looks like a flattened mortarboard. I've got no idea how that works. And then there's a wiggly line which should be the thing. You know, with a mortarboard, you got the little thing that dangles off it like a piece of string. What's that wiggly line, Steve?
So that's still they've used a bit of artistic license here. So that wiggly line means that the stereochemistry of that carbon is unknown. So
well,
it can either be
you know
coming
what?
Out or going
My
away.
faith in this paper has just been obliterated by the fact that that's made up.
Right. Yeah. So there we go. That's the nanoputians, and actually,
what's all that stuff?
So that's how you make the nanoputians. So to give you an idea, it's
Can you have like nano intercourse? Could you have a man and a woman?
I'm about to show you that in a second.
Well, they've got that in the paper.
No, they don't. But they do things like, so to give you an example, right, a bit like when we spoke about Thunderstruck. You know, if you look in the how to synthesize all these compounds, there's all the kind of technical detail of actually how to make these things.
Out.
No. But they looked at making them polymeric, right? So one thing is, so first thing they did is they wanted to make a monolayer of them. So they put sulfur atoms on their feet.
Poor guys.
And sulfur,
Stinks, man. It smells bad.
well, it's also it bonds very readily to gold. So what they did is here's an example of them all lined up on a gold substrate. So they're all standing
and
next to each other.
They look kind of annoying.
I knew it would annoy you. I knew it would.
But they do look annoying, don't they? They kind of look like cheerful people going, ta-da! Here we are, ta-da! Like they've just done something impressive.
Yeah, and then so finally they made them polymeric, so they actually kind of combine them all, and you can make things like this, Nick. So here you go. Here's an example of them holding hands. Isn't that cute?
Oh, that's quite sweet.
Yeah. And actually you actually make diblock copolymers. So you can make various different like nano
Long
athlete,
chain of them.
But you can actually do it rather than just a long chain of them. You do a nano athlete next to a nano kid next to a nano pilgrim or whatever.
Well, what a bloody stupid paper.
Yeah.
He's done it with someone else. There's two of them on it.
Yeah.
James Tor and Stephanie Chanteau. Well, I'm sure that'll go down as a classic in the world of organic chemistry. Thanks for that, Steve. That truly was an interesting paper that you came across.
I came across this paper, Nick.
Steve, I went to the Royal Observatory the other week.
Oh, in Greenwich.
Have you been there?
I have, yeah.
It's the first time I went. I lived in London 9 years, and I always was meaning to go, and I never went.
Did you nerd out on the clocks? They're so beautiful.
Well, that's
aren't
what
they?
I was going to talk to you about. Right. So, okay, let's step back for a second.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever literally cried or weeped because of something?
You were
in
moved,
science?
emotionally moved.
So moved that
Like-
you.
No, not. I've been moved, but not to the point of tears.
Yeah, that's because you're a cold-hearted.
That's because I'm dead
bastard.
inside. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
Anyway, I went to look at the clocks, and I get there's a caveat here as well.
yeah.
I was a bit tired and hungover. It was a Saturday.
Right.
This is kind of a running theme.
So it is, isn't it? Like being in that kind of constant state of kind of melancholy.
It was a really hot day, and we went on the train because I live in Southampton now. That's where I work, and then we went up for the day. And I've read about the Harrison clocks. So just to give people a bit of background, in I think the 1700s, there wasn't a good way of navigating at sea. You always knew what your latitude was if you were on a boat. So
You used the stars, right?
latitude is how north or south you are on the Earth. So you were able to do that by looking at the declination of the stars, or even I think the sun.
You can do it with the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's relatively straightforward, but there's no way of measuring your longitude. It's too much of a complex problem. There's too many different variables, and it's impossible. It was impossible at that time to do it. The astronomers always contended that you'd be able to do it with stars.
Yeah.
But there's a disadvantage there because the stars might not be out every night. It might be cloudy for many nights in a row. And also the way that they move it's incredibly complex. So you can tell that I don't quite understand why you couldn't do it. Anyway, some people thought that the solution was to have a better way of keeping time.
Right.
Because if you know your time, that is a way of kind of zoning in on where you are.
But I suppose that at the time, all the clocks they were all kind of what we consider grandfather clocks, right? They're all pendulum swinging clocks, and they're difficult to put on boats.
Yeah,
right?
so any clock you put on a boat would lose a lot of. It'd be very inaccurate over a period of time. If you're sailing to like America or the West Indies or something, then it would go out of sync. So this
So
dude,
you wouldn't know where you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
so this guy John Harrison, who's I think originally a carpenter,
Right.
but also an inventor, thought, well, I'll try and make a.
But
clock.
wasn't there a big prize?
Yeah, I think it was
offered
£20,000 or something, which
Right.
is a vast amount of money in those days, like millions of pounds.
in order to make a clock that you could put on a boat.
Any solution to the longitude problem.
Right. Okay.
Just
So it
didn't
wasn't
have to
just
be
the
a clock.
It was, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, this guy came up with the idea of clocks, and it's an oft-told story, the problem of longitude. There's several books been written about it. I've read about it before. So I knew about this thing, and I knew about the clocks, and I knew that they were at the Royal Observatory in a museum.
Yeah, I've been there. There's like 4 different generations or something, isn't there?
Well, I'll tell you more about it. So I went
Right.
in and I'm looking forward to this. I
Right.
was looking forward to it.
Yeah, I
There's
bet.
lots of big telescopes there. There's lots of interesting science history related stuff. So you go in, and yeah, he spent basically his whole life
Making clocks.
making clocks. And he made them iteratively. He made one, and it wasn't quite good enough. He made another one, wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah.
Made another one, wasn't quite good enough, right? Until he got to the fourth one, Harrison's fourth timepiece. And like, I was looking at these clocks, and they're huge, amazingly intricate.
They're all made of
works
brass, and they're
yeah, amazing.
exactly.
Lots of cogs and all. You know, it's just like if you're interested, or if you're anybody
Who cares
and you
about,
appreciate
if you like
precision,
mechanical
absolute
things,
precision, amazing things like, and they're all really nicely lit, and
Yeah.
you know the brass is glinting, and
Yeah.
it's like. Anyway, so imagine me. I'm wandering around. I'm
Little bit
in my-
hungover.
I've had an ice cream half an hour earlier.
So
I've walked
so
in
you
out
have,
the
you're in the sugar
sunshine.
dip already.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
I
the
mean,
insulin peak, and then you're in the sugar dip.
So I've been wondering
It's
around
a
and I'm
perfect
looking-
storm, Nick. It's a perfect storm.
So I'm
for
looking
crying.
at these and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this guy, man, he spent his whole life working on this. Oh, yeah, just
whole life.
So I'm getting into his, and I'm thinking, and then you get to the fourth one, and you look at it, and it actually looks like a normal,
Like a pocket
large, like a large pocket watch. And he won the prize. There was a lot of controversy with the prize, but ultimately,
I
he
like
won the
the-
prize. But I got to it right, and by that stage, I'd read all of the things. I was listening to the thing in my ear,
The
hole,
audio.
listening to about.
Yeah.
And I got to the fourth one, and I just thought, you know, he invested his whole life in trying to make it, and then he got it to the stage where it worked. And everyone throughout his whole life
Told him it wouldn't work.
doubted him. You know, other people were looking at other ways of doing it over a long period of time. He had lots of competition. You know, there must have been times when you'd want to give up, and I just thought, that's amazing. He's done it, and he was successful at the end. And as I thought that, my eyes,
A little tear.
they filled with warm
lacrimated.
tears. Yeah, and I was like, I was totally surprised. I was like, why am I crying?
Right. Do you think this is how normal people that aren't scientists and are moved by things like, you know, puppies and
Maybe.
children feel?
Well, I get moved by those things as well. Like
Yeah.
a good example of that is the end of Babe the Sheep Pig, when the farmer said, "That'll do, pig." I think it's probably the similar thing as the. It's like the same thing. Everyone doubted that pig. They didn't think the pig could do it, and at the end,
You showed them
the
all.
pig. Did you see what the pig did? The pig showed them. So, Babe the Sheep Pig is John Harrison.
I think we've learned something here today. Nick,
Oh,
hello.
hello, Steve.
You know scientific words.
Like, yeah.
Give me one. Throw a word out.
Sciencey words.
Yeah.
Drosophila melanagaster.
That's good.
So you like that one?
Yeah, it's good. Well,
Do you want another one?
give me
Cinerabditis elegans.
no, stop giving me actual organisms. Give me something else.
Microscope.
Microscope would do. So like there must be the first time in history at some point no one knew what a microscope was, right? And someone had to define the word microscope.
Yeah. Like, I mean, new things, like the internet.
Yeah, indeed. But
I'm saying the internet's a new thing, but that's because I'm an old man with...
that was the newest thing you could think of was the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so I work in my lab. We work a lot with fluorescence.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I was really interested in like the first time that someone wrote down the word fluorescence. Right.
I think I know. Do I know about this?
I don't know. Maybe
Wasn't anything to do with the chap called Stokes, was it?
George Gabriel Stokes.
Tell me
yeah.
about him. I think
So-
I know this story.
Really? Have you?
But it's a really good one.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say.
Oh, go on then.
So I think it's really interesting. So you can go back and find these things in the literature, right? Because at some point they must have been said for the first time. And actually, scientists are quite good at documenting these
So
things.
you're kind of interested in scientific etymology.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The meaning of words. So this isn't about. So George Gabriel Stokes was a professor in Cambridge. And
Holder of the Lucasian chair, I believe.
Indeed, that's right.
Currently still held by Stephen Hawking.
No, he's retired now.
Oh, is it?
I don't
Okay.
know who it is now. I should.
Oh.
That's totally
It's
something I
not
should
like
know.
one of them, like De Sotoy or someone.
No. He's in Oxford.
Oh, right.
He's anyway. So fluorescence, and I was looking at it, and I found the first. So what I really like is when you go back and look in the old literature, it's also always stories of like they're just old white men sat in a room, like thinking or just doing experiments they can do on their windowsill.
So I was sitting at my fireplace one day and I was drinking a glass of port, and it occurred to me there's a sheen of iridescence coming from the surface of the port, and this is actually him writing it and getting it published in Nature.
Exactly, he's not just rambling like a bunch of idiots like we do.
And then we noticed, I poured it into another container, and my pet cat, Stevenson, lapped it up, and it was very interesting observation that was made, and they go on like that, and there's kind of no point to it.
Yeah.
It's just speculating.
So I tracked it down the first time fluorescence was ever used, because we use it in my lab the whole time, and so I think it's really important. So it's in 1852 in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, which
Did
you've
you look
spoken
at the
about
paper?
before. I've got it right here.
Sweet.
Right in front of me here, right?
Oh, I think I know.
So,
So I do know. I'm not going to tell me about it. I think I know a bit about this because I wrote about it in my PhD thesis.
Oh, really?
And I cited the paper.
From 1852?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I might not have done, actually. I might have cited some other chap writing about it.
So he discovered, so for anyone who doesn't know fluorescence, is if you ever see those, if you shine, basically the phenomenon of fluorescence is quite simple. It's if you shine light of one colour onto a material, and if it fluoresces, it emits a colour, and the wavelength of that colour of that light that comes out is red shifted. So it's smaller in energy.
So basically, blue is the short wavelength, green is longer, and then red is. So if you look at a rainbow, it goes from short to long, from the blue, the violet, to the red.
Exactly. So if you shine violet light on something that fluoresces, green light or red light can come out. That's all that means. So it sounds quite complicated.
It's kind of, it is, and it's like, because I also use fluorescence quite a lot, but it's not something that people come across in their everyday lives, really.
No,
generally
I think
speaking.
most people, they've probably seen on the news, like, when when the scientific media incorrectly reports, they say, like, glow in the dark mouse or something like that. So things glowing in the dark is not fluorescence. It's a separate phenomenon called phosphorescence. But the principle's the same. So people have probably seen that kind of green mouse, like that's a fluorescent mouse.
I've got a good example from everyday life from going to nightclubs, but I think I don't want to preempt you.
Well, you're going to talk about quinine.
Well,
that's where it was originally.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So George Gabriel Stokes was doing these experiments, and he actually was looking, as you said, looking at quinine sulfate, which actually we still use in the lab now as a fluorescent material. It kind of glows with a kind of blue colour. And as you said, if you've ever been into a nightclub and someone's got a kind of blue drink glowing, that's almost certainly a G&T, because there's quinine in tonic water.
Yeah, it's from the bark of a tree, and like an Indian tree. I forget the name of the tree, lignanium something or other. I can't remember. But yeah, that's where you get quinine.
So quinine. But anyway, so I've dug it out, right? So I wanted to read you the passage. It's been clipped, so I might have to make it up. Apologise. So he's talking. He's in his office. He's doing some experiments. He said, in those bodies, whether solid or liquid, which possess in a high power of internal dispersion, the colour thence arising may be seen by a body to ordinary daylight, looking at it such in a direction that the light does not enter the eye, and excluding transmitting light by placing black cloth or velvet behind it, or by some similar contrivance, right? So basically, he's doing.
I mean, I don't know about other people, but they wrote really long sentences back in those days, and by the time you get towards the end of the sentence, I've forgotten what the beginning of it was. So like, I couldn't understand what that was all about.
What he's doing is he's taking a bit of glass, right? And he's shining some light through it. Yeah. And he's covering it up such that you can't see the light that goes directly through. He's looking at the light that comes out at an angle.
Oh, right. So it's like 90 degrees.
90, it doesn't have to be, but yeah.
Yeah, at an angle.
That's all he's done.
Does he say what he used?
No, he doesn't.
Do you know what he used?
No, I don't.
So I do. Do you want to know?
Yeah, go on then.
Well, my take on the story was he was sitting in his office, and I don't know where it was, Cambridge, and there's stained glass, which he used, and he observed the fact that the light was coming through the stained glass of one wavelength, shining on this quinine, and then he had a glass of wine. Someone was drinking a glass of white wine, and the white wine was used as a filter to kind of like, so the light, I don't know, the blue light comes through the window, right? Yeah. So blue's a short wavelength. It goes in these glasses of gin and tonic, or is quinine sulfate, whatever. Yeah. Right? And then in front of the quinine sulfate, at kind of right angles, he puts a glass of white wine. Okay? And then he sees light coming through the glass of white wine.
So the wine's a long pass filter.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's what.
Does that mean I can charge white wine to my grants?
Well, you are the wine master. You are though. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, that's true.
So for people who haven't heard the earlier podcast, Steve is in Cambridge and he's associated with a college, and it means that they get little tasks they have to do, and like rather than the tasks being like you've got to empty the bins on Friday night, which would be the sort of task that I would have in my lab, Steve is like in charge of selecting the next batch of wines that the college choose to invest in.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a great story.
No. So I haven't got there yet.
Oh,
Right? So he hasn't
right,
said
right.
fluorescence yet. So he's set up his experiment, and he says it has speak of the colour, so exhibited as displayed by reflection. As, however, appears to be so different from ordinary reflection, it seems to continue. Well, hold on a second. To use the term without qualification, and I thought commonly a phenomenon dispersive reflection. So he defines his term.
So he's calling it, first of all, dispersive reflection.
Dispersive, and there's an asterisk. There's a footnote.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So this is a footnote from 1852.
Yeah,
At the bottom of the footnote, he says, "I confess, I do not like this term." Full stop. I am almost inclined to coin a word and call the appearance from fluorspar as analogous to the opalescence it is derived from the name of a mineral. I shall call this fluorescence.
That's wicked.
Isn't it awesome?
That's brilliant. So the word fluorescence actually comes from fluorspar, the mineral.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But I like it how it's so indignant. He's just kind of like, it makes sense that I have to call it dispersive reflection.
Yeah, I like that, man.
And then
he's acknowledging that he doesn't want to, be seen as someone who comes up with frivolous coinages.
He is a sciencer.
Yeah, but a lot of science, they can't, it's the drop of a hat they come up with a new word. It's like... I've just
he came up with two, right? He came up with two new words.
What, dispersive reflection and fluorescence?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
I just like that. I confess, I do. Imagine that writing that in a paper.
I confess.
I confess, I do not like what I've just... He made it up and challenged it in his own paper.
I think you should try and build that into one of the papers that you write, Steve.
We should.
So, Steve, this is I've got an idea for a new little segment.
A new segment. Oh, that's exciting.
Do you know what it's called?
What do we call it?
I think it's called History Corner.
History Corner. We're going to have to get a jingle for that.
The science of the past. Pulled on your money, got some pole in your glass. I didn't have the internet, just see a Game of Thrones, but still I had some fun finishing like telephone.
So History
Right,
Corner,
so
Nick.
I was thumbing through an old edition of Nature.
As you do.
Well, I wasn't actually, because a kind man has already done it for me. And he's a guy called Walter Gratzer, who's actually at King's College London.
Right.
Yeah. So Walter Gratzer, he's a historian. He's a scientist, but he publishes some amazing books. And
So Nick's got a book in front of him there, which is a collection of... this is a collection of editions of Nature?
No, it's called A Bedside Nature. So he and his editors have sort of looked at copies of Nature between 1869 and 1953 and sort of picked out interesting stories.
I'm so jealous of that book.
Oh, it's full of really interesting nuggets. I want to tell you
You've
about...
never told me about that
I
before.
want to tell you about toads and red hot charcoal.
Toads and red hot charcoal.
Oh, I was just looking through it, and there's so much richness in this book, but this one just...
Sorry, I'm going to have to do that again, right? Toads and red hot... I just let that go, but that's interesting. That deserved more enthusiasm.
What?
I didn't react as well as I should have done.
To what?
Toads and red hot charcoal.
Okay, this little thing is called Toads and Red Hot Charcoal.
Wow! Is that better?
And there's a so in the olden days, and we've alluded to this very briefly in previous podcasts, but the way that you wrote about you wrote about science, and the way that you did it was different. And when you wrote to record what you'd done to things like Nature, it was more like a letter from like an enthusiast. So it might have been someone telling the world about his interesting collection of, I don't know, spiders
Snails or something. Yeah.
There's one that I found, and it made me laugh a bit. It's quite interesting. It's Toads and Red Hot Charcoal, and it's from a chap called W.N.F. Woodland.
And when's this
in
from?
Maidenhead. This was in the year 1920.
So this is not a scientist. They're not affiliated with the university.
Oh no, I don't know
It's
actually.
just a guy.
I don't actually know. It's difficult.
All right.
There's a lot of random stuff in there. A lot of these are scientific things, but
Right. Okay.
this could be just some interested amateur.
Right.
Well, he's saying that he says first of all that toads are associated with some wonderful myths.
Right.
My skepticism was naturally great, and his friend told him.
Is that your Maidenhead accent?
Martin, that toads would eat red hot charcoal. So there's obviously two Edwardian dudes sitting around having a pour.
Much like you and I, but like 100 years ago.
Yeah. He says, well, my friend, Mr. Martin,
I'm
assured me during a visit to Cornporn in October of 1915 that toads would eat red hot charcoal.
I'm imagining exactly the same situation of you and I sat across the table, but one of us is wearing a kind of top hat, the other one's got kind of elaborate facial hair. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
Okay, go on. Red hot charcoal.
So what he did was his mate said that they would eat red hot charcoal.
Yeah.
So to test it, he didn't believe him. They
No.
were having a
Good
glass of wine.
Good scientist there.
So they
Being
found
sceptical.
a load of like red little chunks of charcoal, tiny little bits of charcoal, and they had some small toads. I don't know where they got the toads from.
Yeah.
But basically, he threw some of the bits of charcoal glowing red on the floor, and to my surprise, the glowing fragments were eagerly snapped up and swallowed.
Oh, wait. So how many frogs has he got? Sorry, toads.
Not specified.
Not specified.
Not specified.
The materials and method sections all over the shop here.
The toads appeared to suffer no inconvenience, since not only did they not exhibit any signs of discomfort, but, on the contrary, several toads swallowed 2 or even 3 fragments in succession.
Amazing. Amazing.
Do you know what his conclusion was? Can you guess what the conclusion
frogs like
was?
charcoal?
Yeah, but why?
I guess, so activated charcoal obviously is a very common thing that we use in gas masks. We also use it if people you need your stomach pumped or something. It kind of adsorbs a lot of kind of impurity. So my guess would be that they eat it as a way of kind of cleaning themselves or self-purging or something like that.
A good hypothesis, and I could think of a way that you might be able to test that.
Because you could do it not glowing. You could just do normal charcoal would work too.
Well, you'd maybe make the animal feel a little bit ill, and then see whether there was an increase in the rate of the charcoal eating after they ate some acid. But that's not what
that's not his.
That's not what WNF Woodland thought about it from
Woodland.
Lockmead Maidenhead.
It's good, isn't it? It's from a Woodland, and he's doing experiments on toads.
He thinks that it's the toads mistook the luminous pieces of charcoal for glowworms or fireflies. The latter being numerous in the grounds of the Agricultural College at Cornporn in October.
There's no glowworms in Kent.
There are.
Really?
You get glowworms in the UK, fireflies. I've seen
Really?
them in Wales, yeah.
I didn't know that.
You see them if you go out in the countryside, probably about this time of year. This is end of July at the moment. You have fireflies. Fireflies, glowworms. There's different types, obviously, species. And
of course.
you're probably more spectacular ones. I mean, I remember going to South Africa and seeing some incredible fireflies. It's amazing. But anyway, he says that, he repeated the experiment, and he's obviously a well-traveled guy.
Yeah.
I repeated the experiment at Allahabad in August 1916 with the same results. The toads even attempting to pick up glowing cigarette ends.
Wow. Okay, so that puts my hypothesis out the window then.
Well, no, that puts his hypothesis out the window as well, because he says he's never observed glowworms or fireflies in Allahabad at any time of the year.
So they've never seen glowworms.
No.
But they still want to eat. They still want to eat glowing charcoal.
Yeah, and fags.
You know what? Can I tell
Sometimes
you something
I've
related to this?
almost eaten fags
so
when I'm
when I was doing my postdoc in Stanford, one of the guys there called Nick Conley, he was a kind of half synthetic chemist, half physical chemist. As part of his PhD, he made a kind of synthetic analog of luciferin, which is the compound which is used in the bums of fireflies to generate chemiluminescence. But what he did is, instead of putting it's a heterocycle, it's a kind of ring-shaped compound that does this, which has a sulfur molecule in it, and he swapped that for a selenium version of that. So they had a selenium analog of luciferin, and if you put that with luciferase, which is the the enzyme that makes it glow, it glows, but it glows red instead of glowing yellow.
Wow,
Isn't it cool? And so what he did when I was there, is they ordered a bunch of fireflies from some scientific provider like Charles River or something.
It's cool, isn't it? You can just order.
So we got them, and then what we're going to do is one Friday afternoon experiment, he kind of pinned down some fireflies, and he injected his synthetic analog into the bum of a firefly to see if it would glow red instead of glowing
I
green.
hope he had some kind of like ethical.
I think so, yeah.
Thing.
Because if it worked, that was going to be the cover, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Well, at least he did it. Well, there you go. That's where science from the history meets the science of today.
Wow.
Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Science Shed! We're in the Science Shed! Come on, Steve!
Bunsen.
Burner!
Dolly.
Machine!
Internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Steam!
Petri?
Dishes!
Austin.
Space!
Isaac.
Newton!
Transplanting.
Science!
Well, bosh. There you go. Another one in the bag, Steve.
Just nailed that.
Another podcast.
Just retire that one.
Yeah, so that's it till the next time, folks.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like it, please like, favourite, subscribe, all that social networking jazz. We're on SoundCloud and also on Twitter. I'm Steve the Chemist, and Nick's the Evans Lab. So say hello.
Yeah, we'll tweet some stuff soon.
Yeah, and see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Love you. Bye.